A judge will begin to hear evidence today regarding a taxpayer lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of California's gender quotas for corporate boards of directors. Well, here to talk about the suit further is the president of government watchdog group Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So, Judicial Watch filed the initial suit on behalf of California taxpayers in 2019, challenging the constitutionality of California's gender quotas for corporate boards of directors. Tell us more about how your organization became involved in challenging these quotas.
Well, as soon as the law was passed, it was obvious it was unconstitutional. Even the then Governor Brown suggested there were some legal issues there. The California Constitution has specific prohibitions against sex discrimination, and this is what the law mandates: a sex quota, a sex-based quota on boards of directors for corporations in California. What it means is that certain seats on the boards of directors are no man can apply for them or be considered for them. It's abusive sex discrimination. It's unconstitutional. It's unlawful. And today begins what we foresee to be a 3-week trial on whether taxpayers should be able to force to fund this illegal activity by their government.
And on that note, in September 2020, Judicial Watch also filed a taxpayer lawsuit to prevent California from enforcing Assembly Bill 979, which requires the same corporation subject to those gender-based quotas to also fulfill racial, ethnic, sexual preference, and transgender status quotas by the end of the 2021 calendar year. Tell us more about the status of that.
Well, you had this bill that mandated sex discrimination that was obviously unconstitutional. And then they followed up with a law to expand the quota system to include the other categories you mentioned. So that's a separate lawsuit that's in discovery now. This is a effort by the left in California to really blow up decades of anti-discrimination law. You're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of sex or race, etc. But they want to be able to do that to advance their woke agenda. And this trial on the sex discrimination rule, the gender quota, that's critical theory that's going to be on trial. Their thinking is that boards of directors are only helped if they have quotas for women on it, mandated for them. And that obviously is rejected by law, the Constitution, and hopefully by the court.
I want to bring up something. A new study was published just weeks ago that found a robust and significantly negative stock market reaction to California's gender quota mandate. But you have proponents of this gender quota legislation claiming it will promote gender representation in corporate decision making and lead to equal pay. What do you say to those who believe that?
Well, there's not much evidence behind that, and that's going to be a debate at the trial. That there's good reason for the government to be doing this, and there is no good reason for this gender discrimination. It doesn't help companies, and what California is doing is it's made, as the study suggests, companies nervous that the government's interfering in the operations of businesses in a way that affects their performance.
It's interesting because we're seeing that this California law having a sort of trickle down effect because the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in August approved NASDAQ's proposal that most of the nearly 3,000 companies listed on the exchange have at least one woman on their boards, along with one person from a racial minority or who identifies as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer, or that sort. But it leads me to my next question because, as you pointed out, when then Governor Jerry Brown signed this legislation, he admitted that serious legal concerns have been raised, but he still signed it into law. Does that sort of statement have an impact in your favor during today's hearing?
Yeah, and just so you know, it's not a hearing; it's a trial. The
Trial,
judge,
yeah.
it's a trial before the judge, and that's the sort of evidence that I'm sure our legal team is going to raise when you have those signing the law into law. raising questions about its constitutionality. And you raise a good point about this rule related to NASDAQ. There's no mandate like there is in California. It's a soft quota that pushes corporations to engage in illegal discrimination in order to keep NASDAQ and those who want this quota system in place off their back. As I said, we've had 50 years of law being developed in this country, the Civil Rights Act, other laws that prohibit sex and race-based discrimination. And the left wants to throw that all out the window to further its quota regime, which is in theory excuse me, not in theory, but as applied approach of critical theory.
Definitely. And we're seeing other states too. Washington State, they've even proposed a similar idea, similar to that of California's legislation. As you said, this trial is expected to last 3 weeks. Where can our viewers go to see any updates regarding this legislation and this suit?
Well, Judicial Watch is all over social media. I'm sure you'll be covering it on OAN. And our website is judicialwatch.org, obviously. And, we'll see what happens. Will the judge rule at the end of the trial? Will she take some time to consider what her decision will be? We'll see. But we should have a pretty good idea how things are going by Christmas.
We'll have to wait and see. Again, President of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, thank you so much again for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.